Welcome to Gardening with Daddy Pete. Let's join our host, Melvin York.
Well, greetings, everyone. This is Melvin York, and you're listening to Gardening with Daddy Pete. Actually, today, I think we're going to coin a new phrase in the gardening community. I've never heard this before, but I think that it's something that's very fitting after I've been watching people over the years and continue to watch this season also. And these are some of the things that would actually discourage new gardeners. So we want to go over those and could discourage some of you older guys too that's been doing it several years. And sometimes you think, well, why am I doing this? What's it worth? So the phrase that I would like to coin or start using is determinate gardening. Determinate gardening. Now, if we go to that and actually look up the definition of the word determinate, it means definite, a determinate period of time. This is very important. Definitely settled, arranged in a determinate order. Now, let me tell you that again so you can catch my drift of where we're going with this. Definite. Determinate means definite, a determinate period of time, definitely settled, arranged in a determinate order. Now, the reason I like to coin the phrase determinate gardening is simply for this. A lot of people will get the garden fever early. A lot of your box stores, not so much your garden centers, because they do know the times when to put these plants out. They start flooding the market with these plants when we have that little bit of, I call a false spring, and we have it about every year. And people start setting out plants. They haven't been hardened off. Their plants that's not ready to go back to a cold season or a frost, and then they lose their plants. They get discouraged. What did I do wrong? Okay, here's what you did wrong. You got in a hurry. Everybody's guilty of that. So you got in a hurry. So I'm coining the phrase determinate gardening for a simple reason. It's a period of time. It's a way that we do things. It's an order determined. We're determined to do this in order. Now, I'm coming to you today from the Piedmont of North Carolina, which we're one of the lucky ones in this state, and most of the state can say this, that we do have the cold weather crop or spring crop season. We have the late spring, early summer season. Then we do have the early fall and late fall season for cold weather crops again. So if you get the itch, we can actually plant 3 times a year here. And I know you've heard me talk about this before, but here is the part that discourages a lot of first-time gardeners. Okay, and it's simply this, is you plant too early. The plant is not ready to be in that environment yet because of the weather has fooled us. And then we get disheartened and we don't go again. I spent all this money and the plant died. I'm giving up. I've heard it time and time again. But here's the thing about it. That's why we do these podcasts. This is why we give you information. This is why you can go to our page at Daddy Pete's. Our slogan, our motto, our heart is we help you grow. We intend to help you grow. So don't give up. All right. That's the word for today. Don't give up. We're doing determinate gardening from now on. As you heard me say time and time again, make a journal. A journal needs to start before the first of the year. If you're going to be a determinate gardener, then you're going to know what you're going to do before January 1, because a lot of things start happening January 1, especially if you're going to do a cold weather garden. A lot of things don't happen in March. And again, if you're a determinate gardener, you do know to do that. In that journal, make sure that you plant the varieties, when you planted those, how you watered, how you fertilized. Keep a daily record of the weather. Go back and look on some of the weather sites. What was it for this year? When was the last frost that's normally going to happen in your region? These are things that help you to be a successful gardener. Now, more than ever today, more than ever. And you've heard me. I went over the recalls. We went over what's going on with our food today. You know, it's expensive. You know, that it's not as nutritious as what you grow. You know, it's not as fresh. More than any other time in the world, you need to be gardening, especially for your family, for your kids, your grandkids, your nephews, your aunts, uncles, nieces, whatever. Your neighbors that you care about, your elderly mom and dad, a lot of people that has cancer and have different disabilities and different sicknesses, and the natural foods do help when it comes to that. So we're still coining the phrase determinate gardening today. Again, we go back to varieties. Make sure that you pick a variety that works in your area. It's just like when you plant shrubs or you plant trees, and we get all of these odd varieties coming in from everywhere around the world, but they're not native to our soil. They're not native to our environment or our climate. Always stay in something that has the same climate, same soil, same rain that we get every year when you're buying a plant that's out of state. Therefore, they will adapt very readily and will perform well for you. Now, here's the thing. I know I get in the rush to garden. I go out and I ride by the box stores and I see the beautiful fresh lettuce plants or all the cabbage or whatever. And that's all well and good. If these have been hardened off, if you're prepared for it, and it's the right time. But again, go back on some of our podcasts and you will see at www.daddypete's.com, click on them, and we talk to you about the times to do these. The reason that we want you to be a determinate gardener or practice determinate gardening is simply that you do have to prepare early before. And the winter months, I know you're getting ready. Everything's winding down. We're finishing those beds out. We're out before Thanksgiving. We've got the Thanksgiving holiday. We've got Christmas wide open. But during that time is a time to think about what is going to be next year's garden. If you have kept that journal, you can easily go back, flip through, see what you did, order your seeds, prepare your soils, get your tools in shape, and get ready to go. Now, you say, well, that's just a lot of trouble. Well, is it? Most tomato plants in the bigger pots, you see at a lot of the box stores are running $4, $5, $6, $7 a piece for a tomato plant. You go out and you put it in your pot or you put it in the ground, and it's the wrong time of the year. And not only have you totally wasted $6, $7, $8 your time to do it, but you've killed the dream of having those nice tomatoes. Let me tell you something about everybody wanting to plant early. Okay. This is a thing that I've seen growing up. It's actually my dad and I had the little race too. Who could get something coming up the quickest, or we'd buy the bigger plants and see if we could actually get the fruit first or the tomato first or the pepper first. But the only bad thing about that, yes, we might baby it along. Yes, we might cover it up, but your plant still takes some stress. Is it going to perform for you its whole period that it's supposed to be and giving you all the fruit and the most nutritious fruit that you could have gotten out of that plant just because we wanted to jump the gun, so to speak, plant it a little bit out of season, and we're going to beat it. Where we're going to make sure that this year, is going to be different. Well, if you keep that journal and you go back, you're going to find that this year is not going to be much different than any of the rest. So I know we have global warming. People's talking about that. We're doing that. But it's another good reason to do this. All right. So here's what we're talking about today. Do not get discouraged. Do not quit. Just because you've had one bad run. What we want to do is we want to train you when to set out those plants, when to plant those seeds, when to and when not to. When is it time to pull those cold weather crops up and plant a late spring, early summer crop? in that. It's just like green beans. You can plant green beans. Usually a good time to do that is, and has been for years, on Easter Friday. A lot of people plant on Easter Friday. But those plants, those beans will run out somewhere around July the 4th. Yeah, they're pretty well played out. Take those up, and if you want to, go right back in with another row. Unless you're planning on doing a winter garden or a fall garden in that spot, then maybe you want to let them stay just a little longer, get the last little bit out of them, and then prepare a couple of weeks later and plant some fall stuff. So anyhow, these are the things that we're talking about. These are things that you're going to find on the podcast at our site at Daddy Pete's. Also, you can look at our soils. We've put a lot of years in developing the soils to make it easy for you, to make sure that you are a success. Again, our slogan, our heart, is to help you grow. We intentionally want to make sure that you succeed. That's why we do the podcast. That's why you have an open phone to us. That's why you can send an email. Our customers mean something to us. My heart is to see you be a successful gardener. Train your children the same way. Nothing is more rewarding to see a child's face when he's planted a seed and then he harvests a watermelon, a squash, a pumpkin, and brings in to the family meal. Nothing beats that. So these are just some of the things we want to talk about, and coin the phrase, and you're going to hear me say it more, is determinate gardening. I want everyone to be a determinate gardener. Again, you're going to hear me go over and over and over this again. Now, remember, if you do have a question or you got a comment, you can go to our webpage, which is daddypete's.com. You can leave that question there, or you can actually email us one. While you're there, you can sign up for our monthly garden tips. You can get them through your email once a month. And again, go back through and look at the other podcasts that's archived there and waiting for you. You may find something that can help you. Well, I have enjoyed doing this podcast because I hope it helps. That was my intent. So until next time, you've been listening to Gardening with Daddy Pete. I'm Melvin York, and happy gardening. Remember, determinate gardening is what you want to be, a determinate gardener. Until next time.
Thank you for joining today's Gardening with Daddy Pete. You can check out our website at daddypetes.com for additional gardening tips and our podcast at gardeningwithdaddypete.podbean.com. You can also join us on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify.